all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Experiences are what people love the most about travel. Viator is a website and app where you can book travel experiences like hiking Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania or enjoying the views while cruising on a catamaran in the Caribbean. They offer everything from simple tours to extreme adventures. With over 300,000 bookable experiences in 190 countries, there's something for everyone. Plus, Viator's travel experiences have millions of real traveler reviews, so you have the information you need to book the best activities for your trip. When you book a travel experience with Viator, there's always flexibility and support with free cancellation, payment options, and 24/7 service. Download the Viator app now and use code Viator10. That's Viator 10 for 10% off your first booking in the app. One app, over 300,000 travel experiences you'll remember. Do more with Viator.
Now,
the No Fruit Podcast.
yeah.
Hello, everyone. This is Maurice.
And this is Kafa.
We thank you for tuning in today. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Hello, everyone. We hope you're doing pretty well out there today.
Hello.
So, this little episode today is a little more serious. As I was just talking to Kafa, like I'm really not in the mood to air a show today. I'm really not in the mood. And sometimes we're in that space because of everything else that's going on in life. And, you know, you can't always be happy and go lucky and bubbly and all that type of stuff. and part of it, of why I'm not in the mood, one, I'm tired because of everything we've been doing over the last couple of days. We're trying to fix our house and, you know, things like that. But ultimately, we are dealing with some very personal situation, and it really concerns our son. We're facing a situation where possibly we're dealing with someone who's dealing with some mental health challenges. So this episode is a little more serious. The feeling is a little bit more serious. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to laugh and joke or whatever else, but, you know, the basis of it is, how do you deal with this moving forward? Kav, any thoughts?
No, not. Yeah, it's just where we are and what we're dealing with.
So, you know, it's interesting because as Kav and I talk about, you know, our life and the ups and downs, pros and cons, the in sickness and in health and things like that, you know, for me personally, you don't always understand what that type of commitment when you take these type of vows of marriage and, you know, having kids and things like that. Sometimes you don't know really what to expect, right?
Right.
You
take vows when you get married. You don't have vows when you have kids.
You don't. No, you're right about that.
And I think, you know, people have talked about that before, either in other cultures or other classes or something I've been in, where they said, well, hey, you take a class and you have to get licensed to drive, and you need, you know, a license to carry a weapon, and you need a license for these things and those things.
Right.
But you don't have any training, any formal training for parenthood.
Right.
You know, those who are like Maurice and I, we went through marriage counseling, and they counseled us and gave us homework assignments and things to think about as you enter into marriage.
Right.
Who's going to do the dishes, and what do you do when you have conflict? And, there's just certain things that they talk to you about and prepare you for when you go to, I can't think what it's called, before you get married. And, all the ladies for myself would sit down with me and tell me, okay, well, hey, girl, when, this is what to expect when you get married. I don't know if they do that for the men, but, the ladies sure to kind of sit around and talk. Likewise, in the beauty salon, like other places like that, when they know you're engaged, everyone seems to want to give you marriage advice. But when you're expecting, or when, you have a young family, you don't really get, or at least we didn't really seem to get a whole lot of parenting advice. Do you recall whether
No, not really.
I think others who had kids when we didn't, they kind of said, well, wait till you have kids.
Right.
You'll see the struggle.
Right.
Yes, and there is a struggle with having
I
kids.
think that, when I could think about one person specifically who mentioned that, wait until you have kids, it was, I guess by the time we had our own children and a similar situation had come up, I was like, well, that situation is not that bad. You just wonder how that individual was feeling at that time when those situations had occurred. So something simple as putting your kid in a dress. Your daughter in a dress, or being there when they're not feeling well or whatever it is. It's just kind of like, wow, like really, like how you not here for your child? It's your child. You get what I mean? So but I understand that everyone does not have the same level of commitment that I have or that you have, Kaf. You get what I mean? So I get that part. But even with that, now that you think, even as we're talking it through, was that individual dealing with some mental health challenges themselves?
Right.
You get what I mean?
But basically, again, having anybody really in your life, you really don't get a handbook.
Right.
You don't get, instructions on how to handle this person.
Right.
You hear from their friends, you hear from their loved ones on, oh yeah, watch out for when this happens, or you can tell some of the telltale signs when things happen, especially if they repeat themselves. You try to be on guard and whatnot. But again, when it's your child or even just a loved one, that's going through situations, whether it be health or mental health or, anything, just loss, it is hard to know what to say.
Right.
It is hard to know how to either provide, some type of calm, words, or do you say, hey, come here and cry, or do you say, hey, just what do you really, really say in that point?
Right.
Or do you not say anything at all? Do you keep your distance? And just not knowing what to do at that particular time, So I think about when I had a loss in my family, Maurice, you wanted to, have me cry and have me lean on you and things like that. But I was just like, no, I got to keep moving, I cried during the process, before the person passed away, hoped and prayed, that they wouldn't pass, but you came to me and was like, it's time to let go. And so I did, and, not too long later, that person passed away.
Right.
So I didn't, what was I going to cry for? Like for me, at that particular time, I was crying and hoping and praying that, God would reverse things and, make things work out for this person to be healthy again. But, it wasn't in the plan. And, you hold on and you hold out for hope. But then after a while, you have to say, okay, well, not all hope is lost, but hey, this is just the way that things should be. And in that, you have to find, in order to get there, you have to have peace.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I didn't cry after that because I already had peace over it in order for me to get to the point to kind of let go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in all of that, you still were looking for, me to bawl out that person was gone. But to me, I was bawling before then that person had to go through what they were going through at such a young age. And that it was something that had attacked my family in multiple people.
Right.
So now turn things forward to what we're dealing with now. I'm at that point still now where I'm praying and Lord, turn things around. Lord, make me a better person so that I know what to say. And I know what not to say. I know what to do and I know what not to do, because I don't want to, trigger things or move things the wrong way or whatever it might be. So that's where I am in all of this. And again, what I'm basically saying is there's just no rule book.
Right.
I can't say that, every situation, everyone who has to deal with this is going to go this route.
Right.
And not to say that, hey, there's a rule book for marriage, but there's a whole lot of books out about marriage and how to cope with one's spouse, but not so much how to deal with mental health challenges or just general health challenges. We don't, or if they're out there, we're just not talking about them as much. It's not something that is open like that, so perhaps that's why we're here on the No Fruit Podcast talking to you all about it and talking to each other, because I think it is something that is therapeutic for us as we talk about it, as we talk our way and pray our way through. So, so I think that's where I stand right now. They're just not knowing what things are. Things haven't been diagnosed. We don't know if it's a mental health issue or if it's something else. We don't know if it's a physical issue that's impacting other things, so we're just at this early stage of not knowing.
Right.
But with all of that, it's kind of hard to know what to pray for because we don't know what it is that we're up against.
But I think that the key about that, I hear what you're saying, but and I understand that we are not medical professionals, not by a long shot, right? We might have dealt with healthcare situations, we might have been employed by it, but we do not have a degree and not one nary medical anything. The difference is, for those individuals that we have spoken to, or whatever, they kind of point to like, hey, you know what, maybe, here are the things that he's dealing with, right? And so as I listen to that and because those individuals are dealing with that, and just some things are just very similar. So it's not, like you said, people have not been diagnosed with anything, but you could tell that there is a challenge though. So I'm not saying that he's depressed or he's, whatever, but it's just, but you can see that there is a challenge. We're not sure what it is. But it's not, it's not right. And to be honest, when you take a look at any of us that has dealt with what the world has gone through being this pandemic, a lot of people were not able to deal with that mentally. Let's be honest.
Right.
And so when we look at him in this process, let's be honest, like his junior year, he was out in the middle of the school year, right? So he never really stepped a foot back into high school until he graduated as a senior. So what is that like for you to miss literally like a year and a half of school? Now, they did try to put on a senior prom, so he did attend that. There were some precautions, and you had to be vaccinated, and, there were so many levels of things that you had to go through, and then when they went to the prom was not as successful as it could have been, right? Because everyone was not sure about what to do about the vaccine and all that type of stuff, so we're not sure. There's no way to tell what an individual is going through. You know, I talked to Michael earlier. You know, for those of you who don't know, that's my brother. My brother's name is Michael, and he pastors a church, and he talked about how, you know, since the pandemic, you know, people have not gone back to the building. You know, he has, you know, over 150, almost 200 people on roll, and only 12 people come to the church. So what's going on?
Right.
You know, what's the challenges that people are dealing with? You know, besides those that have passed away because of the pandemic, but how many people are still concerned, right? And so how does that weigh on an individual?
Mentally.
Mm-hmm. You get what I mean? You know, so we have to take every precaution, take everything seriously, and not play around with this. You know, and keep in mind, I'm saying mental health challenges. I'm not saying that it is this, that, and the other, because I'm not trying to put a label on it, if you notice that. But all of us have challenges, one way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. You get what I mean? So, so I'm not diagnosing it. I'm not self-diagnosing it or anything like that. But, you know, it's difficult when you see someone going through, especially someone that is your child.
Right.
You know, so that's why I say, you know, this episode is a little harder. And for those of you who has a loved one, be it a family member or a close friend or just a friend or even someone that just lives on your block or whatever, you know, as y'all know that we are, you know, we grew up in the church, we met in church, we, you know, licensed, went to school for, you know, ministry, whatever it is. So y'all know that we have a real church background, you know, so we just want y'all to understand, like, hey, you know, pray for us as we pray for you. And
outside of prayer, there's other resources as well, you know.
So even with that, you know, which I was going to get to, you can always look at mentalhealth.gov. And you can always, you know, if there's something like an immediate situation, you can always call 911, a suicide crisis lifeline. You know, you can dial 988 or chat on 988lifeline.org. You know, but don't be afraid to look for resources. Don't be afraid to talk to someone. You know, I am lucky and blessed, you know, that the person I can talk to about this is my wife. She is such a balance, you know, in this, you know, that it helps me to work it out, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm blessed in that, and I understand that, and I recognize her value in my life. And I understand everyone doesn't have that.
Right.
You know, everyone doesn't. You know, but I hope that you can find someone, if you're dealing with this personally, or like I said, you know, someone else who is, please, you know, reach out and talk to someone. At least just get it off your chest, whatever it is. At least get it off of you, and see if that will help to, relieve any pressure.
Right. Because there's a lot, as you said, you know, COVID has brought a lot of things on, has made us relook at life and have to reevaluate things. But it's a whole lot of things to have to reevaluate.
Right.
And I think that's the other part.
Right.
Outside of just COVID safety and COVID procedures and things like that. But it's just so many decisions you have to make now. Mm-hmm. You know, do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? Are people going to look at me funny, you know, if I have it on? People are going to look at me funny if I don't have it on?
Right.
You know, so just all of that becomes a lot for some people, even myself included, you know. Do I try to carry one all the time, but again, certain situations, it's just like, well, why do you have a mask? You know, people just kind of.
So let's just talk about that for a second. So those of you who follow us on Instagram or whatever else, y'all saw we just went to a comedy show for her birthday, right? The guy joked about us having a mask on, not directly, but we definitely were one of a few people that had a mask on.
Yeah,
it wasn't that many.
We're in the arena with, you know,
thousands of people.
Yeah, God knows how many other people. I mean, they were from various different states. I don't know you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And we're close, but not super close. in proximity to other people.
Right.
But no, I don't. I mean, and the mask is not 100%. Yes, we're vaccinated. We're whatever comes after vaccination. Booster, that's what it is.
Right.
We've been boosted and boosted again.
Well, I haven't been boosted.
Okay.
I had the two shots.
You're vaccinated.
Yeah, I'm vaccinated.
I'm
but
vaccinated and boosted.
Yeah, I
once.
didn't get the booster.
So, now they're talking about more boosters and more strains and whatever. So it's not going away. But the comedian was kind of like, all right, COVID is over. Y'all can just take the mask off.
Right.
You've been vaccinated, you've been boosted. But it's just like, hey, I know lots of people who have been vaccinated and boosted and still get it. And some people have had it pretty bad. Not to the point of hospitalization, but to the point, that they really weren't feeling well.
Right.
Beyond a cold, beyond the flu, it was pretty tough.
Right.
So, no, I want to be precautious, in that regard. So I put on the mask. Again, I know that it's not 100%, but it gives me that layer.
Right.
And that's just where I stand with it. But again, when it gets back to our mental health and our mental wealth, as I was listening to somebody over the weekend talk about mental wealth and well-being. How do you be well? How do you when you think about wealth and what that means, and how do you tie that into that mentally? Because you want to store things up so that you are healthy for a long time.
Right.
That's what wealth is. You store things up so that you have it to live off of for a long time. So why not do that for your health, in your mental space? I think, as they were saying on this podcast or whatever it was I was listening to, that especially in the Black culture, especially in the Black church culture, mental health is just not something that is talked about that often.
Not often. I think it's coming up now.
Yeah, it's coming out a lot more now. But I can recall, and I've worked in the mental health field.
Correct.
I can recall one parent just saying, "Oh, we're gonna pray this away." The child was an elementary school child, a foster child, had a lot of trauma in her life, and the foster parent was just like, we're gonna pray this away, and it didn't happen. She loved the child and whatever, but the trauma was still there, and you have to deal with that. Yes, I'm not saying that there aren't demons and things that come in and can attack, and you can address those.
Right.
But still, life goes on, and there's other things that need to be addressed. Sometimes it's through counseling, sometimes it's through medication. But it needs to be addressed. Just like if I have a broken arm, it needs to be addressed. You can't pray my broken arm back to healing.
Right.
It will heal over time, but will it heal right? So if I break something, don't take me to church and pray for me. Please take me to, a doctor, a hospital, orthopedic surgeon, whatever it might be, so that my bone can be set back properly. And I think that's the same thing with mental health. And when you have a break or whatever, you need to kind of meet with someone to help you understand how to put things back together.
Right.
And I think that's where we are right now within our family. A lot of things are going on that we haven't always addressed because life gets busy.
Right.
And you celebrate the little things, and then those smaller things, you just kind of keep going.
And I think there's another thing that you said life gets busy, but I think there are some things that are just avoided.
Right. As I said, some things you just sweep under the rug.
And I think some things are avoided intentionally. Because it's like someone said the other day, back in the day, they're like, look, you're going to grow out of it.
Right. Or things are going to get better.
Right.
Especially, again, like I said, we as believers are like, oh, okay, things will get better. And in the world, like, oh, they're just going through a phase. Like you said, they're going to grow out of it. Oh, a boy is a boy. Oh, a girl is just going through her, she's smelling herself. Whatever it might be, that we hear, especially in our culture, especially in the Black culture. Like, we hear these things, like we hear these excuses for that. And sometimes it's not an excuse.
Right.
You know, like something's really underlying going on.
Right.
And you just have to figure out what it is, and then address it.
Right.
You know, and I think that's where we are. Like I said, right now, it's just trying to figure out what it is so that we can figure out how to address it. And I say we because it's all of us together.
It's a community.
It's all of us together.
Right.
You all listening is included. We're
Right.
bringing you right in with it. Whether you
your
want
family anyway.
whether you want to or not, you're right here with us. So we just ask that you continue to keep us in prayer and encourage us. Send us a note. Like, little positive notes go a long, long way. You know, just say hi. I'm thinking of you. You know, it goes a long, long way. So thank you so much.
And we will talk to y'all later.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Introducing Carvana Value Tracker, where you can track your car's value over time and learn what's driving it. It might make you excited.
Whoa, didn't know my car was valued this high.
It might make you nervous.
Uh-oh, market's flooded. My car's value just dipped 2.3%.
It might make you optimistic.
Our low mileage is paying off. Our value's up.
And it might make you realistic.
Car prices haven't gone up in a couple weeks. Maybe it's time to sell.
But it will definitely make you an expert on your car's value. Carvana Value Tracker. Visit Carvana.com to start tracking your car's value today.